So I'm sitting here kicking around in my head in what order I want to ask you this, because I do want to talk about supply chain, and everybody knows the term silicon shortage right now. But when it comes to, you mentioned services that we have as well. I mean, there's always going to be a need for hardware, right? We're always going to have that. But there's also a need for services. And I think services have really increased in my mind in terms of what a traditional network guy knows, right? We've seen a big uptick and increase in that. I mean, Ruckus Analytics is a great example of that. Ruckus Cloud is a great example of that. When you look at these subscription-based services, what does the future of that look like? I mean, is there going to be big shifts in that? And the reason I'm asking is because you are starting to see areas where, you know, there's a great benefit to a company saying, hey, we can offload all of this out of our data center and offload it into the cloud. I mean, there's benefits to them, you know, that are this long. I mean, you can go through it all day long, but what does that future look like from your perspective?
Yeah, no, great question, Matt. So, I mean, it's like you said, it's, you know, we all know now that cloud and transition to cloud is happening. That's the faster growing part of the business when it comes to Wi-Fi and campus generally. Cloud managed networking is probably growing, several times faster than, on-prem. And that I think has been known, and we've seen that coming, and we see that in our own business. Now, there are parts of the network where they might deploy it at the edge, they might deploy it on-prem because they need that, that latency or that responsiveness, or there might be other reasons. But when it comes to the services, cloud is the best way to consume that. When it comes to Ruckus Analytics, because you need the scale of cloud to be able to consume all the telemetry that is coming in from the devices. You need the compute that is available in the cloud, the flexibility of that to run the machine learning and the AI algorithms and derive insights out of it. We were recently talking to an analyst, and he talked about the growth which is expected in services. And it was precisely the type of services like analytics, which I think customers are realizing that when it comes to deploying Wi-Fi, especially now with Wi-Fi 6 and then 6E coming along, enterprise networks, are becoming more capable, but they're also increasingly becoming more complex. And it's becoming more difficult for customers to tune and optimize their networks, right? And so something like Ruckus Analytics is very important in helping simplify the network. My vision, Ruckus's vision, I think what we're all working towards is continuing to simplify, because that's what Ruckus's history and pedigree is, right? We develop very high performing networks, but we also make it very simple for people to deploy it, all the way from where we started with, in Zone Director and Unleashed, and what we did for MSP deployments with Smart Zone. So we want to continue to do that and make it so that it just like utility, flip a switch and networking works, and it's autonomous, it self-configures, figures out what's wrong, what needs to be changed. That's what we are working towards. And Ruckus Analytics is a very important piece of that, because we're running, one of the things that I'm really excited about that this team is working on towards realizing that vision is they're adding capabilities so that we can self-monitor the network. So I talked about the complexity of Wi-Fi 6, 6E. Sometimes these things need to be tuned based on the type of configuration you have, because there are unique usage patterns, the unique characteristics of all the deployments. So we're putting in that telemetry so that you can assess what's happening in the network, compare it with what we are seeing is the best of breed deployments, what is working elsewhere, and then come up with suggestions for what you need to change. And the operator just needs to click a button and say, yeah, I accept these changes. And then once they change it, we can also then monitor and say, before, what was your network like? We have a set of metrics that we can measure to see is the network operating better before or afterwards. And if not, then go back to what it was, right? And, some of these changes I had challenged the team to come up with this, last year, and I'm really pleased with how far they've come. That I'm seeing now mock-ups and, demos, and some of these are going to be in our product by the end of this year. We'll truly reach this and realize the vision of what we call as autonomous networking. So long-winded answer to your question, but services and Ruckus Analytics is absolutely going to be key to our future in terms of realizing that vision of, you just deploy your APs, drop it in, and then, it's like a self-driving car version of it. It'll run, it'll figure out what's wrong, and you just need to monitor and see what is happening in the network as it self-drives and optimizes, right? So amazing work going on, a lot of innovation going on there in Ruckus. I'm really pleased with how far we've come.